Welcome to the Din Don Show. I'm Din.
And I'm Don, and we're here for some fun. Happy Halloween, everybody. Guess who I am?
I forgot to dress up.
This is kind of a last-minute video. We wanted to try and do something fun for you guys today, for our viewers out there. Today, we're going to be talking about a scary movie. Our idea with this was we decided we wanted to watch a scary movie for Halloween.
As everyone does for Halloween.
As everyone does, except my wife and your wife.
Yeah, no, our wives do not like scary movies.
And some of our friends, which is sad. So we decided to watch it because we thought it'd be funny to watch a movie together and react about it. So we decided to watch Haunting in Connecticut. Kind of something different we're going to do now. We're actually going to show you, we're going to share with you our audio first. We recorded the night of our first initial thoughts as we watched the video. So take it away.
Here you go.
Okay, Haunting in Connecticut. It's trying too hard.
Oh, that's definitely the first thing. It's trying way too hard.
We walk into the what's his name? Darren, Chris? I don't know what his name is. Cooper, Jonathan, Jacob, Jingleheimer Schmidt, whatever the son's name who has cancer. Which, okay, plot twist, he has cancer. That doesn't make it for a very happy movie.
They run out the start.
It's like, okay, this is a sad movie. What is it going to be about? So, but I mean, the son's walking around the house trying to pick his place where he wants to sleep, and walks into a baby's room, and first thought of mine's like, nope, no, not creepy children.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you look close at a painting of a bird on the wall, and then you hear a fluttering noise. That doesn't really scream scary. That's just like, that was unnecessary.
It was just trying too hard. That's all it was.
Just leave it at the picture. Not even just zoom in. Just like
play scary music.
Play scary music. Maybe have like a shadow pass by or something. So far, Don's for one semi-jump, Din's for no jumps at all.
So far.
Now, wasn't that interesting? His name's Matt, by the way.
Yeah,
we finally figured out his name.
That funny. Like, that's probably one of the first things we want to talk about right away. Is like the characters weren't impressionable. Like, they weren't. The names didn't stick in your mind. They were just sitting there like we literally for the first 20 minutes were like, who's this kid? Like,
yeah, I finally figured out who. Because we didn't figure out his name. That's why I don't remember how we missed his name. But as we were just watching it, I finally heard them say Matt, and I was like, oh, I sound like a jerk not knowing his name.
Didn't we say it was like John?
Well, it was John Jake. I sat
John
there,
Jacob
Jingleheimer Schmidt. So that's what I kind of called him for parts of the movie. But he, like the mother's name, I can't remember. I know the kid's name is Billy.
Like Sherry or something.
Like there's a son named Billy. There's a daughter named Mary, and I only know that because I looked the movie up again. And then there's cousin Wendy.
Cousin Wendy.
So, but the dad, there's a reverend or a preacher. We're going to call him Mr. Preacher Man.
Mr. Preacher.
And then we didn't really know the names. So let's just start off with the summary of the movie. Haunting in Connecticut is based on a true story.
And when we say based, we mean very loosely based.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these type of movies are where they say they're based on a true story. There's maybe 1% of truth, and then 99% of it is just made up.
Yeah, it's a lot. It was a very Hollywoodized movie.
Yeah,
That's in your
Hollywoodized. Dictionary.
Look it up. So, how the true story goes is that in Connecticut there was a family. I think they were called the Dedenikers. The Sneaker family. I don't know.
I don't want to say Bakers, but that
It was
right.
it was a weird name. It was not a weird name. Nobody's name is weird, but
insert name here.
yeah, it was. But in reality, what had happened is that their son had developed Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of cancer, and he needed to receive treatment in one of the Connecticut hospitals. They didn't live in Connecticut.
No, they didn't live in Connecticut. They actually lived a couple states over. And the reason why they wanted to go to Connecticut is because the facility was actually doing a new treatment on this type of cancer, and he was actually a good candidate because of his age, his health. And I say health because when you have cancer, your health is not good.
And so that's kind of where the movie it's kind of hard to separate the movie from the actual story, because the things I read, we don't know if there was a special treatment, but I guess in the movie. They want to do this special treatment on him. It's like hours to drive. It's like a half a day or maybe even a whole day's drive just to get to the hospital and back. So they just decide to find this house in Connecticut to live in. Big house, pretty house.
It's actually a really nice house. Like, if you want like a good, like, no, I wouldn't say old timey, but I want to say maybe what, 60s home.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of. It wouldn't even be a 60s home. It was an older home. It's more like
I was saying 50s or 60s.
I'd say it was older than that.
Older?
I would say it was older than that. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Anyways,
We can't tell the age of the house, but it was an older home, probably like maybe the early 1900s or a little bit before then. But anyway,
okay.
They find out that the home used to be a funeral home. And how they found that out is that there was in the basement room, there was this blocked off section that they couldn't get into for the longest time. And it wasn't until Matt, the oldest son who has the cancer, he finally is able to open the door because for some weird reason, nobody could get in there.
Yeah, nobody could get in there. In fact, one time Matt even tried to get in there and it burned his hand.
It shocked his hand.
But yeah.
Yeah, and so when he finally got in, there was like an operating table. There was formaldehyde on the walls. There were all these different
embalming
tools to prepare bodies for burial, and and that's how they found out. And there is also, and this is the weird thing, we'll put a couple pictures up, but they also found what I think is called death art. I'm not 100% sure what it's called.
Yeah, no, there's these weird pictures. Basically what these pictures are literally taking either family members will take pictures of themselves with their dead loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is okay, in my mind, this is my complete personal opinion, is really weird and creepy. I don't know, maybe it's because we're from a different time, or
and it may be,
but like it's really creepy because they were literally like, there's this one picture, and I'll try and find it. I'll try and put it right here if I can find it, or at least a similar picture where a brother, like there was two brothers and one of them was dead and the other one had their arm around him, and then the dead guy was leaning up was against the brother, and it's like, it just looks really weird and just, I don't know, give me like the heebie-jeebies.
It's different. I mean, and it was a common. I don't know how common it was. I shouldn't say it was common, but it was a thing. People would take pictures
back then.
So they find this kind of, and this is where it's hard to kind of give a summary of the story. What the summary is that Matt is having this cancer treatment, but he's also told that if he starts hallucinating, that he needs to be taken off the treatment.
Right.
Because they don't want anything to get worse for him. So
because at that point the cancer could have spread to his brain, and at that point there's basically nothing that they could do, and everything that they could do would actually make it worse.
So he doesn't want to tell people he's hallucinating because he wants to get over this cancer. He wants to fight it. But he keeps seeing these very grotesque things. He sees what we call, his name is Jonah, the ghost of Jonah, but we're going to call him Crispy Ghost Boy because
and this is why. Here's the picture why. He's literally, honestly, he looks like burnt bacon.
Yeah, it's just, ooh, that's, hope you're not eating breakfast while eating this, watching this, I mean. But he sees Crispy Ghost Boy. He sees other scenes where he sees the Undertaker carving these symbols into these dead bodies, and we don't really know what it was. Now, at that point, when I started seeing the carvings in the body, I realized I'd actually seen the movie before, but I saw the ending. Long story short, what had been happening is the Undertaker had been stealing bodies. Instead of burying them in the cemetery or maybe even digging them up, instead of burying them, he would take the bodies, fill the coffins with sandbags, and then he would perform necromancy. And his idea was to
because Jonah, or Crispy Ghost Boy, he was a medium, and he wanted to amplify the medium powers, because a lot of people in this movie would come to Jonah and this not even caretaker but mortician for seances to contact the dead and do all these things. To kind of like prove that there was life after death. And so this mortician wanted to amplify that, so he performed necromancy on the bodies to amplify the powers of medium Jonah. Well, long story short, if it worked, but too well to the point that it basically killed everyone.
Yeah, he basically he burned everybody to a crisp, just like how Luke Skywalker's aunt and uncle got burned to a crisp in Star
Quite
Wars.
literally, yeah.
That's what it looked like.
It really did.
And so we and once that happens, Jonah is being chased by the dead ghosts, they're already dead, being chased by the ghosts who had the necromancy symbols on them. Another fun fact, their eyelids had been cut off. For some reason, they were hoping that they couldn't fall asleep or they would wake up. Because
we still don't fully understand.
Yeah, we
couldn't.
That. Because the thing was like we closed the eyes of the dead when we bury them. The Undertaker was trying to keep them open. It was weird. Eventually, Jonah tries to escape. He ends up getting locked in a furnace and gets burnt to a crisp.
Hence Jonah,
Crispy Ghost Boy. So what it all boils down to in the very end is that Matt, once he finally realizes what's been going on, he escapes out of the hospital because at one point he ends up getting necromancy symbols carved onto him, and they think he's gone insane. They take him to a psych ward in the hospital. And
I have a problem with this scene. This is probably my biggest beef with the whole scene right here.
Can we bring that up in a minute? Let me finish the summary.
Yes,
Sorry, I just want to get
sorry.
rid of the summary so that we can get over it, and then I'll let Din freak out about it because it is really weird. Once he realizes what happens, he breaks out of the hospital, walks all the way back to the home with an axe in hand, has a shining moment where he tries to breaks down the door.
This is literally where Paranormal and The Shining come together.
It's so weird. It was super weird. He breaks down the door. His cousin and his little brother and sister are freaking out, wondering why is he trying to kill us. He nearly swings an axe and kills Wendy, but he purposely misses to break down a wall. And then you find out all the dead bodies were buried in the walls of this home. That's why in the seance room when Crispy Ghost Boy did the seance, everybody burned to a crisp.
Yep.
So he breaks down all the walls. He eventually lights it on fire. The ghosts kind of look at him. He gets down on his knees. The ghosts randomly
put their hands on his head, and I don't know. It looked like they were trying to take him with us. Like, if we're gonna go, you're gonna come with us.
Yeah. And then we see he's still there. His mother comes in to save him, and then you see this scene where the ghosts are watching him, and then Matt dies, and then the ghosts go away. And then a little bit later, they get out of the house. Matt gets CPR, and then he comes back to life. And then
no cancer. He has no cancer from that point on, which is like, okay.
Which
it's a little bit of,
miracles happen.
Yeah, miracles happen, and we're not saying that this isn't no miracle or anything like that, because apparently in the story, Matt eventually just had no.
Yeah, he was healed.
Had no
he didn't have
cancer.
anything.
It had completely disappeared, and which I'm like, congratulations, but. So weird. Okay, so can I go?
Yeah, go ahead and freak out.
Sorry.
Set the freak out timer right there. Go.
Gosh, no. The biggest thing that I have with this movie is just the scene. Oh my gosh, this scene when Matt when he gets the symbols on his body. I don't understand this because his mom at this point understands that this house has been haunted. It's haunting. It's cursed. Whatever. She understands that at this point. And so, because the preacher even said when he took the body or the remains out of the home that there should be some residual hauntings, but it should calm down eventually. And so, but she understands, like, okay, it was still haunted to a point. But then when Matt gets the symbols on him and he screams, she runs downstairs and she just looks at him and says, "What did you do to yourself?"
Because for some reason Matt had the great feeling to carve all these symbols all over his body.
5 minutes ago, he was completely fine and with the whole family. And then 5 minutes later, he has a whole bunch of symbols all over his body. If that really was Matt doing that, how in the world would he have time to do that? Because it was all over his body, all over.
It was super weird. And then a little bit later, when they're in the hospital, like, he's all healed up.
He's completely healed. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. It was just like blood marks, like where they were.
It's like they'd scabbed over, and I'm like, unless he's got really healthy skin, that doesn't happen, people. So that was the weird thing.
That was probably that's my biggest.
That's his biggest beef.
Whole movie.
So, I guess just some thoughts. And this is, we tried to like organize it and make a semi-script on what to really talk about.
But the whole movie is just so all over the place.
It's hard. I mean, like just what we said in the beginning with the audio tape. We feel like they're trying too hard.
Oh my
Cue the
God.
trying too hard thing again.
Okay, Haunting in Connecticut. It's trying too hard.
But we feel like they were trying way too hard. There was one scene where they walk into a nursery, which I was telling Din when we were watching that. Spooky children. Nope.
No, I can completely agree with that. I actually just played Resident Evil 7 for the first time, and the whole game was like, it was pretty fine, like because I've dealt with Resident Evil games before, and I was like, it had the same vibe. But then as soon as you went into child's room, I was like, no.
Nope. It's like that guy walking out the door. Nope. So, I guess, and there was like one scene where there was like a picture of a painted bird on the wall, and all of a sudden you hear like this fluttering noise from somewhere, and I'm like, why did you do that?
Okay, no. They never explained.
Oh yeah.
Why they did that actually.
Yeah. Then it was super weird too, because at one point there was like birds flying around in the house. But there was like nothing to do with birds in the house. Like we have no idea what the purpose was of that.
It makes no sense why they did that at all. I mean, if like one of the bodies had to do with birds, or maybe there was dead birds in the house, then I can understand that. But there was literally no reason for that.
And so that was one of the weird things we first saw. It's not a scary movie. It is not a scary movie. I mean, it's got jump scares, but jump scares, and I know you've probably heard this.
I would say there's definitely a difference between jump scares and being scary, because and you can attribute this to video games. I played a lot of horror games, and there's a difference between a jump scare and actually like scary atmosphere.
Yeah.
There was no scary atmosphere in this movie. Like, it really seemed like it was an everyday thing, and then they're trying to throw jump scares at you at random times.
It wasn't really scary. I mean, there were a couple spots where I was like, oh, that made me jump. I mean, there was one scene where they closed the door and there was a mirror on the door, and you saw Crispy Ghost Boy in the mirror, and it was super quick, and it's like, ooh, that's kind of spooky. And I guess I kind of find stuff like that like a little spooky at first, but it wasn't really scary. This is how unscary the movie was. Before, he laughs, but I find that this makes me mad, okay? This is my freak out time. We debated on whether we should watch Haunting in Connecticut or The Grudge. Now, I realize those aren't the scariest movies you can ever watch. We had a selective list that we were picking from.
Yeah, we were trying to find a movie that neither of us had seen. And so it came down to The Grudge versus The Haunting in Connecticut. And I honestly thought The Haunting in Connecticut would scare me more, because I'm really into like ghosts, stuff like that. They freak me out, but I'm still into it.
Yeah, and I wanted to watch The Grudge because I've seen The Grudge before, and to me, I guess when I watched it, it wasn't really scary, but it freaked me out later in the evening. But this is how unscary Haunting in Connecticut was. That night, I actually did have a hard time sleeping. I did have freaky thoughts that kept me up late at night. However, it was thoughts about The Grudge, not Haunting in Connecticut. If another movie that we didn't even watch that night kept me up at night, and instead of the movie we did watch, that's how not scary this movie was. It was so bad. So it really didn't scare us, and it was super weird. Why the necromancy thing?
That's one of the biggest things. Like, honestly, we were just talking about this. Like, why the necromancy thing? We honestly think it would have been better if they left the necromancy out, and actually just like, if they just had the dead bodies in the walls, if the caretaker was just trying to boost the medium's powers, even without necromancy,
that would have been better.
It honestly would have been better, in my opinion. And I think maybe it's because we saw that one random picture, and we'll show it right here, mayonnaise sauce. We saw this one picture, and it was carved into a body, and it said, to us, it looks like it says mayonnaise sauce, and it was like, okay, now that's just not scary at all.
And it was weird, and I mean, that was freaky, because the opening, and this is the funny thing, I was eating a bowl of soup right before we started watching, and I was finishing it up, and all of a sudden you see these scenes of the Undertaker draining blood out of the body, cutting into the body, and it's like, I'm not hungry anymore. So you got the nasty factor out of it for me, but it wasn't really scary. And maybe it's because we don't believe in necromancy. I don't find it inherently scary, but we did think that if if the Undertaker had just been stealing the bodies, putting them in the walls of the home to boost the signal, that would have been better. And this was the other weird thing that we figured out too. Crispy Ghost Boy, he was working under this Undertaker.
Right.
And there's one random scene where
he was running away from him.
Yeah, he looked like he was running away. Matt,
which honestly makes no sense. Like if he was working with, and then all of a sudden he's trying to get away out of nowhere, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, the whole scene right there, like it looks like he was trying to hide, grab, and take something from the mortician and trying to get out of the house, but then the mortician grabs him and takes him back down to the embalming room. But it's like.
Why? Yeah, why? And it was like a forceful grab. Like he grabbed him by his hair.
He grabbed him by the hair and yanks him down.
It was super weird, and we don't know why. And I mean, why is he scared? What is wrong? And so we thought that maybe if it would have been better written if Crispy Ghost Boy didn't know he had been stealing bodies and putting them into the walls.
And then all of a sudden, in this scene that he finds out, all of a sudden, that would make more sense.
Yeah, and then the Undertaker tries to kill him, and then ends up. He tries to kill him, and then Ghost Boy tries to protect the house from the ghost of the Undertaker dude because he died somehow later on. So, and it was just weird.
No, yeah. To be honest, I don't think this movie was 100% thought out.
No.
I honestly think that a lot of it was last minute. Just kept going with it, especially with the bird thing.
The bird thing was weird. One part that was genuinely kind of creepy is at one point Matt puts his hand on one of the columns of the home.
Yeah.
And then he like falls through it, and the wall is like mushy, like rotten flesh, and there's like worms in it. That part was actually
that part actually made me jump. I was like, ew, that's gross.
Yeah, and see, that was interesting to watch. I mean, interesting as a scary movie can go. It was weird. There was a lot of acting that I didn't really like. Matt wasn't a great actor.
He wasn't. I honestly thought he was pretty decent. But at the same time,
he didn't shine.
There. Don't get us wrong. This movie had a lot of potential, but I feel like they overshot it a lot.
Yeah, and it may have just been because it wasn't. And there's even like skepticism on whether the story is true or not. There's like people have kind of tried to question if it was true or not.
Well, I mean, the whole movie, yeah, of course, it's not true.
Well, the whole movie, yeah, we couldn't find anything online about the necromancy thing. But
the whole necromancy thing is fake. Like, you can go into details about what it was or how it was.
Well, just one of the things that in the actual story that brings it up to question is that there were the husband and the wife. They felt like that they had been raped by the ghosts or the demons that were in the house. And I mean, that's a serious thing. If you feel that way, you should get out. But people have said, why didn't they get out of the house then?
Which honestly, there's two. I can see the main reason, which was like if the son really did have cancer, which apparently he did. I can understand that they were trying to be as close to the hospital as possible for the kid, so he didn't have to go back and forth.
And they just grinned and bared it.
Yeah, because I mean, like if you're a parent, you're gonna try and do everything for your child, even if it puts you through the worst case scenario,
through an awful time.
But I understand that.
But then again, if you're also feeling that way, it's not healthy for someone who's trying to overcome cancer and heal to be in a freaky situation like that. But anyway, that's just.
I think at that point, that's pretty much everything we have for the whole movie.
I got one more thing.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I got one more thing. There's a cousin in the movie named Wendy.
Oh, right.
This was the weird part for me. We didn't know what her story was, why she was living with them. We don't know if her parents died and she's staying with her aunt and uncle and her cousins. We don't know if maybe her aunt and uncle sent her to live with them to help take care of the family while they were trying to get Matt better. But there's like one scene where they're talking and they're reminiscing about when they were younger and the creepy stories they used to read, because that's normal.
And the thing is, it didn't seem like a normal cousin relationship.
No,
it literally looked like there was something more.
Yeah, for some reason we both got the vibe that it was more like a potential romantic relationship, not
But
really
they're
a
first
family.
cousins.
And that's what weirds us out. And I mean, I don't know. It was.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some places in this world where that's okay, but really, if you come down to it, biologically speaking, that shouldn't happen.
Shouldn't happen. So that was kind of weird, and I don't know. It just, I don't know.
Anyways, okay. When I say now, that's everything.
I think that's everything.
Like that was everything. Like honestly, that movie, it wasn't scary. It could have had a lot of potential. Well, it did have a lot of potential, but they just overshot it, like we were saying.
Yeah.
And really, if you want to pick a horror movie, a good horror movie, I wouldn't recommend this one.
I wouldn't either. So anyway, tell us what your thoughts are, though. Comment down in the description, comment in the description. Comment down below what your thoughts of Haunting in Connecticut is. What your thoughts on our critique is.
If you like the movie, let us know your thoughts.
Tell us why.
Tell us why, and we may want to take another look at it, from another perspective.
Mm-hmm. Like and share if you like the video. Please subscribe because it helps us out if you want to.
Don't forget to hit the notification bell.
And Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And until next time, Don.
And
We're here for the win.